You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage. Over.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you're now behind enemy lines.
Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you. So glad you can join us, whether you're listening to us at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us, where you listen to us on any one of our rebroadcast outlets, on AM at radio, FM radio, on the interwebs, whatever the case may be, or if you're taking us with you as a podcast. We're just glad that you decided to join us this week. Got so much to talk about. No time for any guests or anything else other than the week that was in politics. And my, oh my, did we have a lot going on, a whole lot of shaking going on in the past week. I mean, doesn't it seem like forever ago that we had that whole flub with the Academy Awards, with the Oscars, about who won Best Picture and all that other nonsense? The people on the left who want to think that they can run the nation better than the Trump administration came and run an award show, doesn't that seem like a million years ago? And rightfully so, because we have so many bigger issues to discuss that are affecting your life, my life, our nation. So let's get into it right now. I want to start out with discussing the faux outrage, the fake scandal out there. And I know what you're saying to yourself right now. Well, which one, Gene? There's so many out there. I agree with you. But the biggest one to me, as an attorney, as someone who knows how to prepare someone for statements under oath, is this whole fake scandal about Attorney General Jeff Sessions and what he said before the Senate during his confirmation hearings. Now, let's be clear. When it comes to a deposition, whether it's for a personal injury matter or it's for something a lot bigger, like a Senate confirmation hearing, the stakes are higher in one and not the other, but let's be clear that the goals are the same. The goals are to convey and communicate testimony that is, number one, truthful, and number two, responsive to the questions that are being asked of you. It's very important to prepare yourself for such examinations, and in doing so, the preparation starts with, above all else, answer the question that is asked of you. Very simple, but very hard to do sometimes. We as humans have a need to please each other. Not going there, but especially when it comes to communication, we have this tendency to want to give an answer that will satisfy the other person rather than give an answer that may be 100% truthful and responsive. I deal with clients all the time when preparing for a deposition against an adversary. And there is a bit of an adversarial aspect to a Senate confirmation hearing when members of another party who are against your position, your point of view, are questioning you, trying to get that gotcha moment, trying to get that aha moment, trying to get that moment that slips you up. Jeff Sessions was under a lot of pressure answering those questions because he was answering only what was asked. Now let's remember the question that started this whole issue, and the issue involves Russian involvement in the Trump campaign, or alleged Russian involvement in the Trump campaign. The question that Senator Franken of Minnesota asked Jeff Sessions, quote, if there is any evidence that anyone affiliated with the Trump campaign communicated with the Russian government in the course of this campaign, what will you do? Now, at the outset, it may seem like Jeff Sessions should answer about all interactions with the Russian government to be completely truthful and answer the question. But then you're breaking the cardinal rule of answering only what is asked of you. Let's break down the question. If there is any evidence that anyone affiliated with the Trump campaign communicated with the Russian government in the course of this campaign, what will you do? There are two qualifiers, ladies and gentlemen, to this question. The first one is anyone affiliated with the Trump campaign. That limits your universe of people. It includes Jeff Sessions. It includes anybody within the Trump campaign. Communicating with the Russian government in the course of this campaign being the 2016 presidential election. You're limiting your time frame and the context of the conversations. Communications by certain people about a certain campaign. That is two qualifiers that need to be addressed in the question. So while Senator Sessions may have had contact with the Russian government in his capacity as a senator or as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee or in any other capacity outside the campaign, is non-responsive to Senator Franken's question. If Senator Franken wanted to know about Jeff Sessions' interactions with the Russian government in total, he would have asked that. If he wanted to know about Jeff Sessions' interactions with the Russian government in total in the year 2016, he could have asked that. But he didn't ask that. He limited his question specifically to people affiliated with the Trump campaign, contacted the Russian government in the course of the campaign, during the campaign, as part of the campaign. And Jeff Sessions' answer was responsive to the question. He answered what was asked. Quote, Senator Franken, I am not aware of any of those activities, referring to communications with the Russian government in the course of the campaign. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I did not have any communications with the Russians, and I am unable to comment on it being anything being hypothetical. If this, what will you do? The question's qualified. It's limited to Trump activities. It's limited to those people. Jeff Sessions answered truthfully. His answer was relevant. Everything else is political colored bubbles, ladies and gentlemen, because what they want to get Jeff Sessions on and get that gotcha moment about is talking about interactions that Jeff Sessions had outside the Trump campaign. And in the year 2016, there were two such meetings. Meeting number one, Jeff Sessions was part of the, quote, Global Partners in Diplomacy educational program that was sponsored by, get this, the U.S. State Department, run by President Obama and the Trump and the Obama administration, the Heritage Foundation, and other sponsoring entities as part of the RNC convention. The conference was an educational program for ambassadors who were invited by the State Department to attend. And Jeff Sessions was giving the keynote speech at this event. That is a far cry and outside the scope wholly of Senator Franken's question. The second meeting was Jeff Sessions acting as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, meeting with members of the Russian government, in particular the Russian ambassador to the U.S. The meeting was held in his Senate office. It's a matter of public record. Jeff Sessions was doing his job as a member of the Senate, the same body that was now questioning him about interactions with the Russian government as part of the campaign. Now, listen, all this could have been avoided if Senator Franken knew how to ask a proper question or knew how to ask a follow-up question. He could have said, okay, putting the campaign aside, what interactions have you personally had with the Russian government in the year 2016, if any? And then if he would have said none, now you got a problem, because there's public record that shows, as a member of the Armed Services Committee, there were meetings. There's public record that shows that he was the keynote speaker at the RNC convention educational program that was put on by the State Department. Now you got some hot water and you got some smoke and fire. But not by leaving that question alone, having it answered properly, and then moving on in your line of inquiry. This is the definition of a fake controversy. This is fake news. Bringing this up and claiming that this is a possible scandal is reporting fake news because it shows your ignorance of the actual legal process. Listen, to me, this is deposition prep 101 for a first-year legal associate in a law firm. You prep your client for the questioning that's to come. And part of that prep is stressing, answer only what is asked of you. Now, to Jeff Sessions' credit, in looking to diffuse the matter, and in my opinion, going above and beyond his legal responsibilities and obligations, he decided on his own to recuse himself from any possible investigations into the Trump campaign vis-a-vis Russian influence, Russian interaction, etc. He didn't have to do that. Lest we forget all the times when Eric Holder should have recused himself from certain investigations. I mean, Fast and Furious comes to mind first and foremost. All the times that Congress wanted to hold Eric Holder to a proper standard. Jeff Sessions is holding himself to a higher standard than any attorney general under the Obama administration ever did. He man should be applauded for what he's doing. And he even went further to say that he would amend his testimony and did so in written form to the committee to further clarify and amplify his answer, to include those interactions outside of the campaign in the spirit of transparency. He didn't have to do that. He was under no legal obligation to do that. Jeff Sessions is going above and beyond because he understands the position of Attorney General and what it means. He understands the level of trust that President Trump has put into him and the level of trust that the American people will demand from him. It's an extremely ethical position he's taking, and to me, the man should be applauded for it, not discredited. He did his job. He answered the questions properly, truthfully, with relevant information that was asked of him. It's not his fault that the senator who was asking the question, Al Franken, didn't do a proper job of inquiring about information that he wanted to find out about. Jeff Sessions is doing a good job, and hopefully he'll continue to do a good job for the American people. And by showing that he has this level of respect for the office and level of respect for the American people to go above and beyond what is legal and ethical obligations are, says a lot about the man, and I applaud what he did. Frankly, I wouldn't have done it. I would have told everybody to go scratch. That's just me. I would have done that because I understand the legalities of the situation, but Jeff Sessions is probably a better man than me. We're going to take a quick break, folks. When we come back, we're going to get a little more serious. We're going to start talking about the biggest news of the week thus far. And yes, Obamacare Light is part of that, but we're going to be talking about the whole wiretapping issue coming out of a tweet from President Trump and causing a firestorm, and why this may be the make it or break it moment of the Trump administration, even in these first 100 days. Gene Baradelli behind enemy lines. We'll be back right after these brief words. If you're a long-time listener of the show, or maybe this is your first time listening, you can probably tell that me and the gang here, we like to have our share of fun, whether it's on or off the air. We talk about 2-drink minimum radio and no medication Wednesdays or whatever day it may be. That's why when we found the people at Less Government, More Fun, we knew it was a match made in heaven with this show. Folks, we live in a time where government is out of hand. Our founding fathers did not intend government to be all-consuming in all parts of our lives. That's why we are telling you to go to lessgovmorefun.com, check out the website, check out the swag. What the people want is less government, more fun. Pass it on, make it happen.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is all about being right. No, seriously, it is. If you ever listen to Russ Gallo or me go back and forth on some issue, we always want to make sure that we remember who said what and when we said it. That's why we go to goonrecord.com. It's a brand new social media website. Challenge people on what they believe, whether it's in politics, sports, entertainment, finance, whatever. There's a category for you at goonrecord.com. Check it out right now. Tell us, what do you stand for? It's time for you to go on record.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
Gene Baradelli, back behind Enemy Lines. I want to thank all the sponsors of the show, but I also want to welcome in a brand new sponsor. Everybody, go check out the great people at SaneBox. What is SaneBox? SaneBox is a company that will help you clean out your inbox and get all that unwanted email out of your inbox so you can focus on what matters. SaneBox uses a powerful algorithm with your email, whether it be Google or Yahoo or any number of email programs out there, that smartly filters your email so the really important messages get to you and not all the junk. If you're like me, you get tons of junk email. Check out SaneBox at www.behindthemelinesradio.us. There's going to be an ad up there. Click on the SaneBox ad, and you'll even save some money on your initial subscription to it. Check it out. SaneBox, a great sponsor joining the show. We thank you so much for doing so. Back to the show, folks. Let's get into this whole wiretapping issue that was brought up by President Trump in the past week. For those of you living under a rock lately, Donald Trump has said probably the biggest allegation to come out of any White House in my lifetime, because I wasn't alive for Watergate. And, I think this blows the Monica Lewinsky thing out of the water. Donald Trump is saying flat out, accusing President Obama and his administration with wiretapping Trump Tower. Now, if true, this is going to be absolutely explosive. And listen, I'm not the one to gather up evidence for this and to see what it is. I'm going to wait to see what evidence comes up. There's been a ton of speculation, a ton of different statements. Former Director of Intelligence Clapper said that it didn't happen. James Comey wants the DOJ to come out and say that it didn't happen. But here's what we do know, folks. And instead of me laying it out for you, and I rarely do this because it really just promotes the competition, we're going to let the great one, Mark Levin, lay out his evidence, as he did courtesy of Fox News, on why this story may have some legs.
Two separate sources with links to the counterintelligence community have confirmed that the FBI sought and was granted a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, this is spying, in October, giving counterintelligence permission to examine the activity of, quote, U.S. persons in Donald Trump's campaign with ties to Russia. Let me go on. This isn't me. They say the first FISA request, sources say, named Trump, was denied back in June, denied by the court. Mm-hmm. But the second was drawn more narrowly and was granted in October after evidence was presented of a server possibly related to the Trump campaign and its alleged links to two banks. Now, sources suggest that a FISA warrant was granted to look at the full content of emails and other related documents that may concern U.S. persons. Now, I know people are hung up with Trump's word wiretapping. Well, how'd they get access to this server information? Does it really matter if it was wiretapping, electronic surveillance, or whatever it was?
Now, let's stop the tape right here for a second. Let's talk about FISA, what the great one was talking about. FISA warrants are not exactly hard to get, because when you're talking about, intelligence and national security and things of that nature, a court will give the federal government the benefit of the doubt. I hate to get all lawyery on you guys again, but they give the federal government the benefit of the doubt if the warrant that they're seeking has some rationally related connection to the national security of the country and the intelligence that's being sought can be obtained reasonably. And even in some cases, the discretion is quite broad for the court. I mean, since it's been established, there's been over 10,000 of these warrants given to the federal government to perform these intelligence gathering processes and methods and things that they can be able to do to get the permission to do what they do for this. And to have a warrant such as this denied by a FISA court would mean that the case made by the federal government, and in this case, we're talking about the case being made to wiretap the Trump campaign or Trump aides or Trump affiliates or Trump associates or whatever it may be, had to have been so unreasonable that even this court, with probably the broadest discretion that a court can be empowered with, this court is saying, whoa, hold on, we're not even going to grant this to you because you Obama administration have gone too far. And then eventually they went back and they narrowly tailored it to fit the constraints that the court said that would be reasonable later on in October. This happened. This isn't an issue of whether or not the Obama administration tapped the Trump campaign. Now it becomes a question of whether it was done in the interest of national security and intelligence gathering, or whether it was to spy on an adversarial campaign. But let's continue with the evidence gathering and presentation by Mark Levin.
Quote, The Guardian has learned the FBI applied for a warrant from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court over the summer in order to monitor 4 members of the Trump team suspected of irregular contacts with Russian officials. Keep in mind, this is during a presidential election. The sitting president, the incumbent party, is now investigating the presidential candidate of the Republican Party and his campaign to some extent. The FISA court turned down the application asking FBI counterintelligence investigators to narrow its focus. According to one report, the FBI was finally granted a warrant in October.
Now again, I stop it. Another interesting point. You may not remember this, but back in the campaign, Hillary Clinton's campaign put out a press release talking about, quote, exposing, well, I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not really quoting, paraphrasing the Clinton campaign, exposing a secret line of communication to Russia right around the same time that these FISA warrants were being issued in October. That, to me, is a hell of a coincidence. Now, some may be able to explain this away, and, you know, I'm sure that people will try to explain this away as, you know, something that was a matter of public record. I don't believe in coincidences, folks. I just don't. To me, this is a big deal. They say that the source was a Slate article in the press release. And the Slate article was about a group of computer scientists believing that Trump's server was communicating with a Russian-based bank. And you heard Mark Levin talk about that in his Fox News interview. But still, I don't think a campaign would run with this without some sort of corroboration, especially when Hillary Clinton probably had that type of access. And also remember, you know, Slate had this story come out in October as well. I don't know where Slate could have gotten that information from. I mean, they say they got it from these computer scientists, but how do they get put onto the story? Let's continue talking to Mark Levin here, see what he has to say, and see what other evidence he can come up with.
Exhibit 3, McClatchy, another well-known right-wing newspaper. Here they have the agencies. Headline, FBI, 5 other agencies, 5 other Obama administration agencies probe possible covert Kremlin aid to Trump. The FBI and 5 other law enforcement intelligence agencies have collaborated for months in an investigation into Russian attempts to influence the November election, including whether money from Kremlin covertly aided presidential-elect Donald Trump. 2 people familiar with the matter said the agencies involved in the inquiry are the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Justice Department, the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and representatives of the Director of the National Intelligence. Are you telling me Barack Obama didn't know what was going on in 6 agencies?
As you
hold
go
on, how are you?
And far be it from me to interrupt the great one, the way that Pete Hegseth, who had Fox and Friends, was trying to do. But that's the same director of national intelligence that Clapper that said he had nothing to do with this. It's the same director of the FBI, Comey. He said the Justice Department should deny that this ever happened. I mean, come on, folks. Are we supposed to believe them or our lying eyes? Let's let Mark Levin continue.
I need to make the case because the media seems to be confused about their own reporting. New York Times, another well-known liberal outlet, intercepted Russian communications, part of inquiry into Trump associates, January 19. The FBI is leading the investigations, aided by the NSA, the CIA, Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit. The investigators have accelerated their efforts in recent weeks, but have found no conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. Listen to this. One official said intelligence reports based on some of the wiretap communications have been provided to the White House. This is the New York Times,
another
my
right-wing
Exhibit
outlet.
4.
And we should also point out that on the next day, January 20th, there was a front page headline on the New York Times, the paper of record. Wiretap data used in inquiry of Trump aides. Folks, are we getting the picture here yet? This isn't something that Donald Trump decided to make up. This isn't something that just popped up out of nowhere. This is something that had been going on for some time. And when you look at this, and look, it's clear as day, January 20th, 2017, the front page of the New York Times, an article by Michael Schmidt, Matthew Rosenberg, Adam Goldman, and Matt Apazzo. American law enforcement and intelligence agencies are examining intercepted communications and financial transactions as part of a broad investigation into possible links between Russian officials and associates of President-elect Donald J. Trump, including his former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort. Current and senior American officials said. Wiretapped data, folks. This isn't pie in the sky. This isn't the wild fantasy of an unhinged man who is now president of the United States. This is real. The only question that remains to me, in all honesty, is whether or not the wiretap data actually uncovered anything, or whether it was used to go after a political opponent. And if it was used to go after a political opponent, oh man, is President Obama's legacy just down the tubes. And forget about his legacy. How about the trust that we have in our federal government? Now, an Obama spokesman, Kevin Lewis, put out a statement about wiretapping claims, quote unquote, that was picked up by many news agencies, including Fox News, where he stated, quote, a cardinal rule of the Obama administration was that no White House official ever interfered with an independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. As part of that practice, neither President Obama nor any White House official ever ordered surveillance on any U.S. citizen. Any suggestion otherwise is simply false. Now, remember what we were talking about earlier with Jeff Sessions and word choice and answering what was asked? The word choice here really gives it away to me. This denial is not really a denial. This denial is a non-denial. It doesn't say that the wiretapping didn't happen. It simply says that the president and the White House never interfered with any Department of Justice investigation. It doesn't confirm or deny whether such an investigation existed or not. But we have the confirmations already. Mark Levin laid it out on Fox News and on his own radio show. It's already there. It's already in the public purview. It's already been covered. As a matter of record, it happened. The question is, how high up does it go? Does it indeed go to President Obama? Now, under FISA, the president has broad discretion to direct that a wiretapping occur. Probably broader than any FISA application that would be brought by the DOJ. How high up does this go? It's a question to ask. And again, this is not pie in the sky. This is serious. The question becomes, as we said, was there a reason for the wiretap? And if there wasn't, and if this was purely political, how high up does this go? And if it turns out to be purely political, President Obama and his legacy might as well go right down the tubes. Time for another break. When we come back, we'll discuss another part of the Obama legacy going down the tubes and how the evolution of the repeal and replacement of Obamacare has really not gotten off to the right start that conservatives want. Gene Baradelli behind enemy lines. We'll be back right after these brief words.
The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
Good evening, Rev. Thanks
Good evening,
to
Rev.
you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder, ABDs, about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwiddling, they do not want him dwiddling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist. Intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney, Representative Raul Ara, Labrador. Years of abuse. I personally apologize to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics. I have fun with that.
Politics Nation with the Reverend Al Sharpton starts right now. Good evening, Rev.
Good evening, Dr. Dyson.
But wait, there's more.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina De Jesus, when Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night. In evolution and Galileo, this whole thing of Galileo, America's changed. Unless IT and Skillets, President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP. Just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt. There's nothing there.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show.
Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines. I don't care what you say. I will play that clip of Al Sharpton until it dies down deep in the ground. I love that clip so much. It's part of the show. It's been part of the show for a long time. We always give equal time to Reverend Al. I love it. Folks, let's talk about the second part of the Obama legacy going down the drain, and that is the repeal and replacement of Obamacare. The centerpiece of legislation that President Obama saddled our country with, thanks to a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate, and with no support of the Republican Party or conservatives at all. But it's not like the Republicans in Congress are helping themselves out right now. We had our own Amanda Kohut, our resident rhino, go through the Ways and Means Committee bill that would be repealing and replacing Obamacare with, I guess we're going to call it Obamacare Light, because what we're seeing in it is not so far a great start. Obviously, people wanted to see a repeal and replacement of the bill in total and replace with something different. Being able to buy insurance across state lines. Getting rid of this disastrous Obamacare registry that insurance companies are opting out of. And all the things that we wanted to see get rid of. The employer mandate being repealed or redefined. There's lots of things that we found here that we did not like. Like I said, our own resident rhino, Amanda Kohut, who defends establishment Republicans to the hilt, reviewed the Ways and Means bill, and what she found she did not like, particularly, as we said, no repeal of the employer mandate, no option for defined contributions in lieu of a defined benefit plan, no creation of a SIF-style program for employers who cannot get coverage from an insurance carrier. That means that if an employer, like a security company, for example, that I've had experience with, and that Amanda has had experience with, if there is coverage for employees from other means, you still have to provide coverage no matter what. And if those companies don't provide it to you because you don't qualify in their little, pigeonhole of a plan, then your company's screwed. No plan to reduce the administrative burden on businesses. Obviously, Amanda took it from a business perspective. This is not a business-friendly start to Obamacare repeal. It's just not there. It's a rocky start, folks. I don't know really what to make of it. I'm still trying to go through it myself. It's just not appealing and palatable to many conservatives, really. It seems like many conservatives from Heritage and Congressman Jim Jordan and Rand Paul, they're all out there saying that the draft legislation to replace the Affordable Care Act, it just doesn't work. You know what? We'll see if they have the votes or not, but I think there's room to negotiate here. President Trump said that this draft legislation is just that, a draft. Mike Lee is saying this is not the Obamacare repeal we've been waiting for. It's a missed opportunity. It's going in the wrong direction. Rand Paul is denouncing the bill offered by the Republican leadership. Mark Meadows and other members of the House Freedom Caucus are saying that they will provide an alternative bill to simply repeal the Affordable Care Act. Advocacy groups on the conservative side are urging Congress to reject the bill. Heritage Action, Mike Needham, who I get tons of emails from, and maybe SaneBox can help me out with that. Thank you, SaneBox, for coming on to the show and supporting us. He's calling for a full repeal and then a conversation about how to move forward onto a replacement. In many ways, he's saying that the Republican proposal released accepts the flaws of Obamacare and expands upon them. Mike Pence believes this is an opportunity for sides to come together for repealing and replacing Obamacare. I got to be honest with you, folks. I'm not encouraged. I think that, like Mike Lee said, this is a missed opportunity here. There's still a penalty, a surcharge, they're calling it now, by 2019 if you're not covered. There's still this mandatory provision of coverage in the proposed legislation. I'm not encouraged by that at all. If it's supposed to be a real marketplace, then let the market and the consumers being a part of that market dictate what's supposed to happen here. I'm not a big fan of this at all. I hope we'll have more to talk about in the coming days and in the coming weeks on this show as new proposals are brought out. I'm very interested to see what Senator Paul is going to come up with and see if it can be integrated into this proposed draft legislation. We'll just have to wait and see. But listen, I don't want to end downing legacies and talking about legislation that's just in the draft stage at this point and talk about the possible fight to come and all this gloom and doom over wiretapping and all that. I want to focus on the positive. We haven't had a chance on the show to applaud President Trump on his stirring speech before a joint session of Congress. His speech, probably his best political speech ever, was hopeful. It was optimistic. It clearly set forth the goals and standards his administration will strive to meet in the coming term, especially in the coming year. And, Obamacare and the principles that we've talked about, purchasing insurance across state lines, making sure that people are covered and that it's affordable to everyone, not having government intrude upon people's healthcare decision-making, things of that nature. We hope to see that from Congress going forward. But I got to say, the most stirring moment, and this has been talked about to death, and I'm not going to talk about it any further than anybody else has, but the moment when he had the service member's widow stand and be recognized, and the remarks that he made, the stirring remarks that he made, what a moment that was. An absolute defining moment in the first 100 days for President Trump. And as it was a defining moment for the Democrats in the audience who refused to get up and applaud that second time. We're talking about Nancy Pelosi. We're talking about Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We're talking about Keith Ellison. Refusing to stand up the second time for that 2-minute standing ovation that made every news story. Van Jones from CNN was saying it was the most presidential moment of the Trump administration. And I agree with Van Jones. I can't believe I just said that on air. I agree with Van Jones. Man, oh man, what is the world coming to? But it goes to show you how big of a moment that was. That entire speech was an absolute home run. It set the tone for the Trump administration going forward. It set the tone for what he expected of Congress to do. It set the tone for the conciliatory message that people have been asking for forever from the Trump administration to bring people together. He challenged the Democrats to join him in what he's been doing and what he wants to do and what he wants to accomplish. And you know what? That's a hopeful message that should be celebrated and should be brought to all corners of the country. And hopefully we'll do it by this show. We are way past halftime here, folks. Thanks for tuning in to www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Behind Enemy Lines Radio, I'm Gene. My co-host Russ isn't joining us this week. He'll be back very soon. But I already mentioned it. You should definitely go to www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and the Twitters at BEL_radio. And if you missed any part of the show that we normally do live on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker, you can check us out at any one of our rebroadcast outlets, including WJHC 107.5 FM in Jasper, Florida, WDDQ 92.1 FM in Adel, Georgia, WLBB 1330 AM in Carrollton, Georgia, all part of the Red Nation Rising Radio Network. What a great association of shows and conservative programming to listen to. Check it out, folks. It's absolutely amazing online and on those 3 stations. You can also check us out at KLRN Radio, High Plains Talk Radio, and Sackheads Media, ICRN, the Internet's Conservative Radio Network, and, of course, Lanterns Radio at lanterns.buzz. You can also check us out anytime as a podcast. We're available on a whole host of outlets, including iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbay, Player FM. You can discover us on Google Play Music, find us at SoundCloud, and always tune in on the mighty, mighty iHeartRadio Network. Listen under the podcast, under politics. Check us out. We're there. I know I can't believe it either, but we are indeed there. Folks, time for some final thought action. And it's going to be a little bit of a lengthy final thought. And it has to do with our good friend of the show, Sean King. And we're going to bring it around to different news stories here, folks. But first, we haven't done Buffoon of the Year. Buffoon of the Year, we're only in March. We haven't done Buffoon of the Week, I should say. The precursor to Buffoon of the Year, the weekly, episodic shaming of someone in the political spotlight that has done something so stupid that we have to call it out in an attempt to kind of bring balance to the world. And this week it's got to be Sean King. Sean King, who's been dubbed by my friend Scott Hounsel at Red State as Talcum X. I'm laughing inside too, folks. Sean King, of course, as you know, the male Rachel Dolezal, a gentleman who is indeed white. His name isn't even Sean, it's Jeffrey, who claims to identify as black, one of these transracial people out there who is being enabled by the New York Daily News as a columnist on, I guess, racial equality. I don't even know what his title is. All I know is that the entire thing is bogus, much like he's bogus. A couple of reasons why he's Buffoon of the Week. Reason number one, he recently tweeted some quote-unquote serious and provocative questions that he wanted to have answered in layman's terms about how it can be brought about that a recall election could occur and what would have to be done to do that, to recall the election of Donald Trump. Rightfully so, the conservative Twitterverse mocked Sean King and introduced him to a little something called the Constitution. Maybe you've heard of it, Sean. It's that thing that was written many, many years ago. It's the founding document of our nation. Tells us how to change our laws and how the president is elected. You may want to look into how to amend that. And by the way, if you can't find how to amend the Constitution, also look to the Constitution, because it tells you right there how to do it. Reason number 2 that we are inducting Sean King this week as Buffoon of the Week. He went absolutely apoplectic at the statement made by now HUD Secretary Dr. Ben Carson, equating immigration and slavery. And while it may be true that slavery is not immigration, if anything you can equate it to an immigration, it is a forced immigration, as Sean King has said himself on multiple occasions. Now, we also Samuel L. Jackson get all nuts about it and MF all over Twitter about this. But Sean King, listen, I've come to expect a lack of self-awareness. And I've come to expect ignorance from white people on the internet. But Sean King takes the cake. Not for nothing here. You yourself have defined slavery as forced immigration in at least one article you submitted to the New York Daily News. And the fact that you don't even know the Constitution of our great nation, and you claim to be an agent for change, your ignorance, sir, is overwhelming this week. I don't even know where to begin to correct it. You block us on Twitter, by the way. I don't know if people know this, but Sean King blocks me on Twitter. Little old me with my little show here. I guess I'm such a threat to him that he doesn't want to hear anything from me. But man, oh man, if ignorance were money, Sean King would be the richest man in America. Not only is he ignorant when it comes to how people should be interacting with each other, not only is he trying to con us into believing that he is something that he is not, i.e. black, i.e. a journalist, i.e. smart. But now you're a hypocrite on top of all that. You've been a hypocrite to begin with, trying to pull the wool over our eyes and pretending to be something that you're not. The Black Lives Matter movement has problems with you over some of your fundraising. But man, oh man, I thought we hit the bottom with you already, but apparently we haven't. So, you know what? It's time, man. We got to do it again. Sean King, your Buffoon of the Week, again. Good luck to you. Maybe you'll learn one day, but I highly doubt it. Quick programming note, folks. Just want to announce to everybody that Behind Enemy Lines Radio is going to be returning to the Federation for American Immigration Reform's Hold Their Feet to the Fire Radio Row event that happens in the summer. We had so much fun doing that last time, Russ and I. We're going to be doing some interviews there again, and we added it to the calendar. We know we missed CPAC, and we missed all of our friends there. Next week, another programming note, we're planning to have John Preston on the show, and he's going to be releasing his new album soon. Some more music from this great veteran. We've had him on the show before. We're excited to hear what new offerings he has. Check out that probably on next week's show, which we're really anticipating. Having John on the show is always a lot of fun. And just a quick update, some housekeeping here at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Check out the site again for the SaneBox ad and see what that's all about. I'm going to try it out myself because Lord knows my inbox has about 200 messages a day coming in that I know I will never get read. I'm being perfectly honest here. A lot of stuff I subscribe to that just goes right into my spam or into one of the different files, whether it be, advertisement, whatever it is. I'm kind of email illiterate, but I'm definitely going to be doing that. And you know what, folks? I'm thankful that you guys are bearing with us. Just on a personal note here, the show's been going through a lot of changes, as some of you may know, because I moved out of the People's Republic of New York City and moved further out on Long Island. Long Island out here, so you have to say it apparently. It's been great moving out here, but just the internet situation has been horrible. I miss doing the live show with you guys, and I'm excited in saying that we're going to be having a lot of changes this year on the show. Russ and I are going to be dabbling in a couple of different things, maybe. We'll let you in on some of that. It might involve some video, some Facebook Live stuff, some greater interaction on the website, www.behindthemelines.radio.us. And, as we said, more trips, more interviews from people. The show's going to get back on track. I promise you that. And I want to say thank you again for sticking with me and listening to me talk for an hour. Lord knows that's pretty hard to do sometimes, to listen to me ramble on. But I'm glad that you're sticking with us. This year is going to be a huge year with a capital Y, huge, for news and views. And we hope to bring you some of the best interviews out there, some of the best content out there. It's going to be big, folks. I'm excited about it. I mean, just look at this show we did tonight. We ran the gamut from Jeff Sessions to this deep state wiretapping thing that is still becoming probably the biggest news story of the decade when you really think about it. And we're having fun with Sean King, that Nimrod, and it's a good time to be a fan of politics. It's a good time to become engaged in politics. This is probably the most exciting you're ever going to see in politics. So get people involved, interact, engage, and keep listening to this show, folks. And you know what, folks? That's going to do it for this show. I want to thank everybody for listening. Next week, more of the same. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some knowledge dropped on you. We're going to make you think. We're going to make you laugh. We're going to make you angry, maybe. But until then, from the People's Republic of New York, Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines Radio, it's time to shut this sucker down. We are out of here. Good night, folks.
Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A Rock Radio production. Copyright 2016. Back in 7 days. Out.